Welcome to Your College Bound Kid,
a podcast for parents, college counselors, students, and anyone who wants a weekly deep dive into the world of college admissions.
My name is Linda, and I'm originally from Michigan, now living in the St. Louis metro area. I'm a college coach with School Match for You and have a daughter at University of Chicago.
I'm Lisa, and I'm a clinical psychologist and college counselor. I have a daughter in college, a daughter in high school, and a son in middle school. After 30 years in Chicago, we recently moved to North Carolina.
My name is Mark. I'm a college coach in Atlanta and the parent of two daughters. Karis, a graduate of Davidson College, and she is the founder of the Spanish tutoring company, SpanishHelpToday.com. And Joy is a wellness coach at the Keenan Flagler Business School at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And I'm so blessed to be able to work alongside both my beautiful daughters at School Match for You, college counseling firm that I founded in 2010. Good afternoon, friends. I am back after 23 sensational days visiting Texas colleges. And as great as a trip as that was, whoever coined the term home sweet home knew exactly what they were talking about. Now, some of you take a long trip like this and you miss your pets. But we don't have pets. So our roses, azaleas, hydrangeas, hibiscuses, camellias, and crepe myrtles are our pets. And did I ever miss them? So it was great to see just how much they grew in 23 days, especially the hydrangeas and the hibiscuses. Now, my brother Norm from Denver surprised me with a 36-hour visit. He just headed out to go to the airport. We had a great time, other than the fact that when his Denver Nuggets win a Game 7 and my Los Angeles Lakers get bounced, he's almost insufferable. All right, friends, you've heard me say that all of the college counseling I do, really all of it, really on this podcast, is birthed out of my experience in the counseling room. Well, I had a conversation with a student yesterday in the counseling session, and when I was giving her advice, I thought to myself, I need to share this with our listeners. So I'm going to share a tip with you today. It isn't so much as an admissions tip, although perhaps you will see it as an admissions tip. This student did. But it's really more of a tip on how to be a better student and how to get a good sense on what your gifts are. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Then I'm going to do something that I never did after my Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina trip in November and December. And I'm really not sure why. But I did do this after my September and October trip to California. And we got some pretty good feedback on it. So if those people that gave feedback are representative of our broader audience, then I thought you might like it as well. So I'm going to do it again. And what is it I'm going to do? Well, I'm going to give out awards to the schools I visited. I have like 25 awards based on schools that I visited. All right, let's dive in with the tip. So I have a meeting with a student from Florida yesterday, and she just seems a little dispirited, just not herself. So I say to her, you just don't seem like yourself. Is everything okay? And the student says to me, I had the highest grade in my chemistry class, and I competed in the national chemistry competition, but another student got the chemistry award, and they are a great student, but it just stings because I just don't know why. Now, some students ask these kinds of questions, and their tone is just dripping with entitlement. But that was not the case in this instance. The tone was not entitlement, but rather bewilderment. So when you hear the advice I gave this student, and we're going to call this student Julie, you will see this is my tip for you, for your student today. So I said, Julie, here's what I want you to do for at least 3 of your teachers, not just the chemistry teacher, but 2 other core teachers. So it could be math, English, social studies, or foreign language. I want you to select this chemistry teacher and 2 other teachers who teach your core classes who you feel know you the best of your 5 core teachers. And I want you to email them, or you can talk with them after class when you have some privacy. And I want you to say, I just want to set up a 15-minute meeting just to get some feedback from you. You've taught me all year. I'd love to know what you think my strengths are, what you feel I did well as a student in your class. And I'd also love to know what I could do to be an even better student academically and or behaviorally in the future for the rest of my time here in high school and also in college. Now, I like to have my students ask this in advance. So if the teacher needs to think on this topic a little bit, they can do it. So this Friday, I taught a class at UC Berkeley. So Berkeley has a certificate program for college counselors. And I was asked if I would teach the students. And so the first thing I said was, can we just do Q&A? Because I don't want to do a full prep. And so the teacher said, sure, you can do Q&A. And I'm used to doing Q&A. I mean, in Texas, we had 4 events, one in San Antonio, one in Austin, one in Dallas, and one in Belton, Texas, and particularly the ones in Belton and Austin and Dallas. They were just Q&A the whole time. Like one was 2 hours straight Q&A, hour and a half Q&A. And really, college counselors are calling in here all the time with questions, right? I can kind of do it in my sleep. So I'm like, I figure, I don't need any prep, no big deal. And for the most part, it was fine. It was a great time with 15 or so students there. But at the very end, this is the teacher who normally teaches the class who asked if I would come. She says to me, what's the biggest thing you didn't know in 2010 when you started becoming an independent college counselor compared to now? And I just froze. My goodness, I froze for like 15. I just couldn't think of anything. I finally said something, but I probably would have had a better answer if I would have known that question in advance. It's my fault. I mean, I'm the one who said, let's do it extemporaneously. And I really don't have any regrets. I just froze on that one question. Same for when I set up interviews on this podcast. Like the thought leaders I interview, they really do appreciate having questions in advance. I tell them, we're going to go extemporaneous, we're going to go off script, we're going to be conversational, but here's a framework of the things we'll talk about. And they like it. I remember when I first started, I asked people, do you want questions or not? And people are like, yeah, I'd like some questions. Except for Andy. Andy just could, he's just great off the cuff. But everybody else really likes questions. So I like people to send questions in advance so they have the questions, just so the person can think on it and reflect a little bit. But what are the reasons why I like this exercise? And I've did it with my KIPP students for years. And I just realized, I never really have talked about this on the podcast before. Well, for one, it's a great way for you to get an objective perspective on what your gifts are. It's a great way to get an objective perspective on what are your gifts. So a lot of times it's really hard to know your gifts. It's hard to know what it is about yourself that stands out, but a teacher that's been teaching presumably for years and has the benefit of the macro perspective of the whole class can really do a good job of singling out and say, you know what, you're a great critical thinker. You write well. You're great at stimulating conversation, or whatever it is. You work really well in teams. You're responsible. You're resilient, whatever it is, right? So it's a really good way to learn about yourself. What are some of your strengths? Or it could be even academic strengths, your passion for this topic or your knowledge of this, whatever it is. So I really like that feedback, that understanding of self, and that can have ramifications for lots of things. Maybe what you major in or what roles you assume in organizations, whether it's clubs or companies or whatever. So it's very valuable that way. And it can be a great confidence booster. When I used to work at KIPP, which I worked there for 14 years, Knowledge is Power program, largest charter school network in the country, we used to do this amongst our staff at staff retreats. And we called it affirming and adjusting feedback. So we'd have to give everybody affirming feedback, positive, and then adjusting feedback. What can you do better? And those were great sessions, that affirming and adjusting feedback. Well, that other side of the coin is also helpful, right? Learning what it is that you can do better at. That's invaluable. That can help make you a better student. So when I first shared this, Julie wanted to know, Jesus, sounds like this would be a great thing for my teacher recommendations. She's bright because in a lot of ways it could be, right? So she's thinking, I think a teacher would probably be impressed if I did this. And I can't deny there can be truth to that, but that's not the primary reason I want you to do it. I want you to do it to become a better student and just to improve as a person and also to get a greater knowledge and understanding of your gifts. It's also one of the reasons why I don't like you to only ask one. I could see some teachers talking together in the lounge. Oh, can you believe Julie came up and asked me, how can I be a better student? Anything I can do to be a better citizen? I mean, no students ever asked me that before. And then other teachers, wow, she didn't say that to me. And then the wheels start going off the chemistry teacher. She did ask me for a teacher recommendation. I wonder if this is just a little ploy So for that reason alone, I don't like you to only ask one teacher. And it's also just good to get multiple perspectives. I also like you to get one for more of a conversational type class, discussion, left brain, right brain, English, history type class, and then more of a math science. And this is something, I used to tell this to my students. I haven't in a while. You could do this in the 9th grade, in the 10th grade, in the 11th grade, and in the 12th grade. Can you imagine the knowledge that you can have of yourself, your strengths, your areas of giftedness, how you uniquely contribute to a classroom environment, plus your areas for growth that you can then go work on and improve and be even a better student? So that was my advice to Julie. Try to see what you can learn. I don't encourage you to bring up, is the reason why I didn't get the chemistry award? Because that starts to sound like grade grubbing, which is not good. Just focus on self-improvement. So that was my answer to her. And you guys know everything I do here flows out of the counseling room. And so I'm sharing it to you as a tip. Okay, friends, we're going to transition to our awards. And one major caveat, this is my perception. And sometimes the perception can be biased. You and I both go to an art gallery, and you love one painting, and I like another one. As long as you know that it can be biased, then I'm okay sharing this with you. And I want to start out and let you know what my mindset was coming into my visit. So there are 3 visits, and this is just me. Another counselor could be different. But there are 3 visits, 3 schools on this trip where the company that I founded, we get 5 or more applications every year. And those schools are University of Texas at Austin, SMU, and TCU. 5 to 10 apps we're going to get for those schools. Depending on the year. Maybe more, but at least 5. And then there are 4 schools where we typically are going to get 2 to 4 applications. Trinity in San Antonio, Baylor in Waco, Texas A&M at College Station, and University of Texas at Dallas and Richardson. And then there are 5 schools that I'm hardly ever really asked about, but I know they're very good schools, and I wanted to check them out. Austin College in Sherman, Southwestern University in Germantown. Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas. 30 minutes really outside of Austin. Austin's growing so fast, it's springing right up and bumping right into Southwestern. UT San Antonio, better known as UTSA, and North Texas University in Denton. And I never told you this, but I used to work in Denton, so I was really happy to get back there and see the growth that had happened at North Texas in Denton. All right, so here are the awards. I got 25 of them. I start out just with the largest schools. Oh, my goodness. And I think it's helpful for you to see the schools broken down by size, because that might inform some of the things I'm going to say. Texas A&M is literally the biggest university I've ever been to in my life, and I'd never been there before. My brother Norm has been. He's been to football games there. His clients graduated from there, and he's the VP of his company. He'll take them to his football games. So he knows that school way better than I do. I had to get there. 73,000 students, but it's not just the size of the students. 5,400 acres, 96 of their own buses. Talk about gargantuan. That place was otherworldly in size and other things as well. Next, UT Austin. UT Austin felt really bigger, and I've been there, but it's been a while, 2014 since I was there. It felt bigger than places like Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan State. Large. North Texas. I cannot believe North Texas now has 47,000 students. UT Dallas, also over 40,000 students, and UTSA up there as well. So those 5 schools were really large. They get the largest school awards. The mid-size awards, SMU, Baylor, TCU, those are all mid-size privates. And then the small schools, Trinity University in San Antonio, 2,500 students. Southwestern in Georgetown, Texas, 1,500 students. Austin College, Sherman, Texas, 1,200 students. All right. Most school spirit. Who gets the award for the most school spirit? TAMU, which is just Texas A&M University. Texas A&M, T-A-M-U, TAMU. TAMU, most school spirit. Next, UT Austin. 3rd, TCU. 4th, Baylor. I had a hard time choosing between Baylor and TCU. They both have a lot of school spirit, but I gave the slight edge to TCU, Baylor. 5th, SMU. 6th, Trinity. What do you base this on? Just all my conversations with all the students. Most of this is sports school spirit, excitement, enthusiasm about the game, but overall, it's not only that. It's just spirited energy. All right. Students are not into sports at all award. Definitely UT Dallas. They don't have football. They just went from D3 to D2. Now, when you don't have football in Texas and you have over 40,000 students, and little Austin College with 1,200 students has football, little Southwestern with 1,500 students has 100 players on the team. You don't have football. They were the self-proclaimed school for geeks and nerds. But they are hardcore into their esports. And they definitely have badminton, they've got fencing, they've got cycling. They do have a rugby club. They've got some other things like ultimate frisbee and powerlifting and taekwondo. Even have a Comet wrestling club, but they're just not into sports. This is just not their thing. That is just not their jam. So, yeah, got to give them that award. And then UTSA, runner-up for that. All right, students love their school. Boy, a lot of contestants here. TAMU, hardcore, UT Austin, Baylor, TCU, Trinity, and SMU. Students seem the most driven. UT Austin, Trinity, and Little Austin College, especially the pre-meds there. They are really serious. They got a serious pre-med program going on. Most beautiful campus. Very subjective and very hard because there are a lot of really beautiful campuses. This is a really, really hard one. You're getting my eye on this. UT Austin, SMU, TCU, Southwestern, Trinity, and North Texas. This campus needs some work. UT Dallas. I think it's just because I was having a conversation with a VP at another school about this. It looks like a business park. And the other VP was saying, I think they want it that way because it's founded by the people from Texas Instruments. So who knows? But if you like kind of like that business park look, UT Dallas is your place. Now, it's interesting because on the tour, they said we were voted the most ugly campus in the country. And the president liked it. So then the tour guide talked about all the changes that they've made since they got that award. And some of the places were quite cute and quaint that she pointed out that had been upgrades since they got the ugliest campus award. All right. Most conservative students politically. Number 1, Baylor. Number 2, TAMU. Texas A&M. Number 3, TCU. Number 4, SMU. Most liberal students. Trinity. You're like, how do you know? Because I asked students questions. I asked students if all the students voted in the election, how many would vote for Trump or Harris? Sometimes they actually give me results from their mock elections, and then sometimes they're like, this is just a guess. But you ask enough students to that question, you get a good sense of the political leanings of the student body. Most racially diverse. UT Dallas. That place was totally racially. It's 80% non-white, 45% Asian. UTSA, and then Austin College, most racially diverse. Most homogenous racially, Caucasian. TCU is the winner here, with Southwestern the runner-up. Students are super friendly. Here we go. Southwestern, Trinity, Austin College, TCU, Baylor, and SMU. You know what's interesting? Those are the 3 small colleges and the 3 mid-sized colleges. All 3 of the small colleges and the mid-sized colleges were the friendliest students that I talked to. Students are friendly at UT Austin as well, but not as friendly as those 6. All right, students are really into business. This award goes to SMU and the Cox School. Second choice is TCU, the Neely School. Definitely, they were into the Neely School. Very, very, very close third, McCombs at UT Austin. And now people that are into McCombs are hardcore McCombs, just like Cox, but I'm talking about as a percentage of the entire student body. All right, students are really into engineering. This goes to UT Dallas. Second, TAMU. Close second, by the way. School where multiple people referred to it as a cult. 10 people referred to Texas A&M as a cult on this trip. From Texas. Oh, you're going to that place. That's a cult. 10 people. Baylor was second. I probably had 5. And when I know cult is such a pejorative term, so I partly hesitate to use it. It just, in this sense, it's like a unique subculture that is totally embraced by the students, but frowned on by outsiders. Texas A&M is, you just have to visit that place. It's unlike any school I've ever visited before with its unique culture, and I hope I'm able to bring that out when I do the spotlight. So those 2 get that award, TAMU and Baylor. Students with the most friendly administration, Trinity. definitely. Southwestern, number 2. TCU, number 3. Austin College, number 4. School with the most impersonal admission office. UT Austin is in a league of its own. Listen, there's a lot of great things about UT Austin, but they also have a lot of things they need to work on. You know, you can't get a tour going online. They didn't even have enough tours for their admitted students to tour. There's a lot of things that I could say, and there's a lot of great things about that school, but it really needs to become more personal in the way their admission office functions. Runner-up, TAMU. I mean, they don't even validate your parking. You know, you're coming all the way to visit them. They don't validate your parking. I mean, come on, TAMU. You can up your game. Okay, most students would really like this location. Giving this award to SMU, followed closely by UT Austin, followed closely by Trinity, followed closely by TCU, and then drop off to Southwestern, but Southwestern is there, especially the way Austin is just. The thing about Southwestern, they got this really, really quaint, cute town. You got to go into that town. I had lunch in that Georgetown. A really nice little cute town. So that's why I gave them some points. It's not like right around like half a mile away, but it's not much further than that. It's really, you can walk it. It's really nice. Okay, most students would not like this location. Sorry, Austin College, but Sherman is just a tough sell. It's such a great school. They're so impressive in so many ways, but it's just a tough sell. And I talked to the VP in Rome. We talked at length about it. Like, he knows it's a tough sell. He's, it's like, I mean, it's not close to an airport. There's, I was kind of craving this boba tea because I had the best boba tea I've ever had in my life around the corner from TCU. I mean, that thing was great. Peach and mango with yogurt and the boba. The person just made it right. I never had boba tea like that, so I was kind of craving it. And I was like, you're not really going to get that here. So a lot of students like those kinds of things. Sherman's not the middle of nowhere, but it's got a little work to do. And it's not close to that much. So that makes it a tougher sell. It's such a good little school. Students seem really wealthy. Hands down, SMU. They're kind of in their own league. TCU, I would say, is clearly number 2. And then UT Austin would be clearly number 3. First-gen students will find their people here. Oh, North Texas. They got it going on for first-gen students. They really got it going on. And I was meeting and I said, you seem like you really are attracted on first-gen. The admissions rep rattled off so many different programs they have. Oh, my goodness. If you can handle a large school, this is a great place for first gen. Austin College is a great place for first gen, and they're really committed to it. UTSA and UT Dallas, all of them, I feel are really good for first gen. Okay, this school feels like it really has a lot of momentum. It's hot. It's got the big mojo. TCU. Do you know they're going from 11,000 undergrads to 15,000 undergrads out in the med school doing? I mean, that place, that's transformational. And it's not just growth in size. It's just a lot of things. So I'm going to give this to TCU with SMU very close behind. Them joining the ACT, the ACC, the emphasis they're putting on sports, the explosive growth in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They got a new president that came over from UT Austin that people like, and he rated the top shelf of talent that, at UT Austin. He brought all that talent with him. There's a lot of buzz. So that was a tough one. Ever slight edge to TCU, then SMU, and then UT Austin is exploding. A lot of momentum, a lot going on there. And then Trinity and San Antonio. Just really hard to find a school like Trinity with the kind of resources that they have and in the middle of a city, but yet completely self-contained. School that surprised me the most. Well, this is a little unfair because some of these schools I've been to before, some I haven't, some I know a lot better than others. So all the ones that really surprised me the most are ones I really hadn't been to. Austin College, just so impressed with those pre-med students. They were incredibly impressive. And they're probably smart. They gave me a bunch of people that turned down UT Austin to go to Austin College because of they could do like original research with professors, in freshman year. But they got it going on for pre-med. And then North Texas, lots of ways that school surprised me in so many different ways, whether it was the caliber of the campus, the first year program, their scholarships. Oh my goodness. I'll say more about that when I get into a spotlight. Their scholarships are ridiculous for out-of-state students. And then Southwestern, I really like a lot of the things that they're doing with the partnerships that they're forming with UT Austin, Baylor, Texas A&M, and just doing a lot of really creative things. North Texas, I've already mentioned them. So some, like I said, some of them I already had on this list before. And then I'd say TAMU, just because of the unique culture that they have. I mean, my head was spinning. What did I just observe? I'm looking forward to doing that spotlight. I'm hoping that I can unpack it in a way that it can make you feel like you're there. It is a school some people are going to love and some are going to hate. If it's for you, it is all for you, and there'll be no place like that school. If it is not for you, you cannot get further away. That's how unique that culture was. It reminded me a little bit of when Lisa and I visited High Point, and our heads were spinning at first. We had to, about what we processed. But it's at a different level. I almost feel every person needs to visit Texas A&M just to have that experience and just see that culture, just to understand the different landscape that's out here, even if it's not for you. Every single school I visited, I'm very comfortable referring students to for the right student. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm trying to make it fun, trying to be a little creative, trying to bring you some of the feedback from, I spent 23 days doing deep dives. I spent 2 full days at the schools that I get the most interest in, SMU, TCU, UT Austin, full day at the ones that I get, 2 to 5 applicants for, Trinity, Baylor, Texas A&M, and then a half day at the other ones where there's not as much interest, but I know they're underrated jewels and they're great for the right kid. All right, let's transition to brand new interviews with John Pollard, the Dean of Admission at Franke Honors College and at the University of Arizona. It's a 4-parter. We spend half our time talking about the University of Arizona, and then we spend some time talking about just the whole national landscape of different types of honors colleges that are out there and how there's so many, it's like Baskin Robbins, so many different flavors. And then we dive in and talk about Franke, what makes Franke unique. Really enjoyed my conversation with John. I hope you'll enjoy it as well.
And now this week's interview with a special guest.
Friends, in part 1 of 2 of John Pollard doing a spotlight for us on the University of Arizona. John gives his backstory, walking us up from his birth and upbringing in Minnesota to being a professor at U of A to all the way to being Dean of Franke. John shares what changes he has seen at the University of Arizona. John shares the changes at the campus of University of Arizona. John talks about the world-class research that's being done at U of A. John talks about the strength of the scientific research at U of A. John talks about how being close to the border impacts school culture. John talks about the strength of the health sciences at U of A. John talks about the environmental studies program at U of A. Listen and enjoy. Friends, I think you're really going to enjoy the interview I have with John Pollard. John is the Dean of Franke Honors College at University of Arizona. He's also a professor in biochem and chem. Did I get that right, John?
Yeah, it's the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry.
Awesome. So we're going to break this up into 3 different topics. We're going to talk first about the University of Arizona, and then we'll talk about honors colleges in general, and then we'll finish up focusing on Franke. But John, why don't you start out? Give us your backstory. Walk us up to, what you're doing today and take us all the way back as far as you want to go with it so we understand the context in which you'll speak today.
Yeah, well, great. Thanks. Thank you for having me on, Mark. This is great. Well, my history at the University of Arizona started back actually in 1991. I graduated from a small liberal arts college in central Minnesota called St. John's University.
Oh, I know them.
Fantastic university. I had a great experience there. Can't say enough about that place. And I was born and raised in Minnesota and just, was hankering for some better weather, I guess.
Well, you got that.
I wanted to go to graduate school and I was going to try to get a PhD in chemistry. So one of the schools I applied to was the University of Arizona. And got accepted and packed up my belongings in my 76 Ford Econoline van and drove from Minnesota down to down to Tucson, Arizona, and started a journey that I never could have imagined got to me to this point. I worked on my PhD from 1991 to 1996. Then I did some work for a small startup company in Tucson. I stayed in Tucson for about 3.5, almost 4 years. And then I started teaching and joined the faculty back at the University of Arizona. I had an interesting opportunity to do that. And really focused the first maybe 15 years of my career on teaching. I was teaching and development of pedagogy. I got big into the development of active evidence-based learning strategies in the classroom and chemistry classrooms. I helped co-develop and author a curriculum that's used at the University of Arizona and other universities called Chemical Thinking. And that's an introductory chemistry course that focuses on teaching students how to think like a chemist, as opposed to chemistry is just a set of things to memorize or knowledge. And then I just started getting more involved in trying to understand students' thinking in the classroom, how learning occurs. And I led me over to start teaching some honors seminars in the Honors College here at the University of Arizona at the time. One thing led to another. I started getting more involved. I was asked by a former interim dean to come over and help rebuild some of the honors curriculum over here. I came over to do that. Then kind of stepped into the role of the associate dean here for academics, the Honors College. And then when our previous dean stepped down, I applied, went through a national search, became the dean. And here I am now, about a year and a half almost into that, and just really loving the work we're doing here at the Franke Honors College. And we became the Franke Honors College, the W.A. Franke Honors College in 2019. So now we're the Franke Honors College. And so, but I've had a long-lasting relationship with the University of Arizona since I was 22 years old. So I've been here a long time.
Awesome. That's awesome. And friends, you may remember a letter I read with Lisa, part 1 and part 2, from a student that is in Franke. Well, John happened to hear that interview and reached out to me and said I'd be happy to come on. And I was thrilled to have him, because I have a number of people that are on my bucket list of people I want to interview. And University of Arizona was one of them. So glad to have you here today. So what changes would you say you've seen? You've got like a 30-year track record with the school.
Yeah. Boy, the University of Arizona has changed in a lot of ways, but also it's maintained some of its really core strengths as an institution. The campus, let me first speak about that. The campus has changed. We've had a lot of new construction, new student union, new buildings everywhere, our student success district. So much of the campus has changed in a real positive way since I moved here in the early 90s. And I would say, but at the same time, the campus is really unique. And I've traveled to a lot of college campuses across the country. I think it's a distinctive feature of the University of Arizona. It's a very compact campus. It's not diffuse. It's got a very traditional campus vibe to it. It's beautiful, really known for its landscape and its beauty. And that hasn't changed. That's only grown over time. We've gotten bigger. The University of Arizona has gotten larger, but so we're upwards, if you include undergraduate and graduate students, the institution's around 50,000 students. But one thing that has not changed about the University of Arizona since I've been here is the amazing research that is done at this institution, world-class research in everything from astronomy, space, optics, to nanomaterials, to our School of Dance, which is ranked just under Juilliard, which is one of the amazing. We're amazing in the arts. And really, I would say the student experience here, which is always something that I always hear from alumni. They always had this amazing student experience at the University of Arizona, centered around having great interactions with our world-class faculty and just the campus culture here. I mean, I'll walk through airports, and if I'm wearing a U of A thing or something like that, you'll get the bear down, and then you'll get people who will, if I talk to them, they'll reflect on what a great experience they had. So the student experience here, and we have a really strong alumni network. So great teaching, amazing research, and a great student experience.
I want to come back to some of your strong programs in a second, but talk to us about Tucson. You're nestled in a context of a city of 500,000 or so. Talk to us about Tucson and sort of how close it is to the the downtown area to the school, and just anything at all, how your proximity to Tucson impacts the student experience?
Well, I mean, the University of Arizona is right, in Tucson, right? And we are a traditional college town, I would say that. Tucson has grown from 500,000 to 1 million since I
Oh,
moved.
wow.
It's
Sheesh.
doubled in size. It's expanded outwards. This valley, and if you've ever been to Tucson, it's a real special valley. We're surrounded by 4 mountain ranges. It's it. They have archaeological evidence to support humans have been living in this valley upwards to almost 10,000 years ago, and it's a very special place, I think, on the planet. Our we're in a situation where we're in the Sonoran Desert, but we can be up into sort of pine forests in a 45-minute drive, or to the ocean in another hour or so if you could go down through Mexico. We're near the border. That is a big deal for us, and we're really embedded into the community. You can get to downtown Tucson there's a railway that students can take to get downtown. It's really easy. It's very walkable, and the Tucson community is known for its amazing food, particularly Mexican food, but also all types of food. And it's a really vibrant community with respect to the arts too. So we're really connected with Tucson a lot. I think it's a great city to have a university campus in, and of course, our regional location, our weather's it's some of the best in the country. And we got our summers, but man, during the school year, I mean, I walk to work or ride my bike to work. I do it 365, and students can walk around campus. So we've got some amazing weather, especially this time of the year.
Minnesota, don't hold your breath. I don't think you're getting John back.
No. I love Minnesota. Well, I love Minnesota, but yeah.
So you mentioned that not being that far from the border is important to you, and it impacts the school. How far are you from the border, and how would you say that impacts school culture?
We're about an hour from the border, and I think that impacts the identity of the institution because borderland studies, understanding the relationship between the United States and Mexico. We are a living laboratory here. So we have students that go down and do research on the border. We're very influenced by the culture there. We have a lot of students who come from Mexico actually to come to school at the University of Arizona. We're a Hispanic serving institution, and I think that
and that means 30%, doesn't that? Is it 30% north of 30? 25%? Okay.
25%. I think we're more than that. But I think that regional positionality is kind of defines part of the research we do here, the interdisciplinary research. I think for students, I mean, just being that close to an international border is a really interesting aspect of where they study. So it's part of our identity for sure, and I think a real one that we're proud of.
So, John, I want to ask you about some of the programs I think of as some of your really distinctive programs, and you can just maybe say a few things, elaborate on them. You touched on this, but space, astronomy, your NASA partnerships, Lunar Planetary Lab. What do you want to say about all of that?
Well, we are just world-class top researchers in this space. I mean, just recently, the OSIRIS-REx mission, which was run out of the University of Arizona in collaboration with NASA, and I have a podcast too called "It's an Honor."
There you go.
So I had Dante Loretta, who was the principal investigator for that, on my podcast. They went out to an asteroid Bennu and they launched a probe, and they actually touched down and collected a sample of the asteroid, brought it back. They're analyzing it. They're finding fundamental amino acids, building blocks of life in that sample. So we're doing that amazing work. We're also doing there's a lot of, it's dark sky environment down here. So a lot of astronomy and observational work. We were the first institution to develop the first image of a black hole from work and discovering asteroids to planetary observations. It's just a big part of the identity of the University of Arizona, our lunar planetary science and our optical sciences. And what's really cool about that is that we have undergraduate students who are getting involved in that research, like that student who's a Franke honors student whose mother had reached out to you and who's just one of our exemplar students in the college. So yeah, that's a big thing. We are world leaders in that. top 3 in the world in terms of contributions to astronomy, space sciences, and lunar and planetary sciences.
Love it. Love it. Health sciences. I know you've got very robust offerings when it comes to health sciences. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, we have got 2 medical schools at the University of Arizona. We've got one in Tucson and one in Phoenix. And that's really unique. And we're able to have sort of an interesting identity by positioning ourselves with those 2. In addition, we also have a vet school here, and that's unique. When we talk more about the Franke Honors College, I'll mention more about the partnerships that Franke has with the med school and the vet school for our students. But we have those. But we also have the Andrew Weil Integrative Health Center. Andrew Weil, who's a world famous sort of integrative health expert, really kind of launched that field just literally like a quarter mile from the Franke Honors College here is the Andrew Weil Integrative Health Center. And it's this integrative health center of the world, really. That's also here on campus. We have a research, driven hospital partnership. And so, and we also have the Bio5 Institute, which does interdisciplinary research within the health space and the biological sciences space. So a lot going on here with cancer research, in particular, sequencing, genomic research, immunological research, medical school training, and integrative health. And so really strong in that space with multiple locations and campuses, along with the vet school. And also, by the way, I want to point out an amazing nursing school. We have a nursing shortage in this country. We need to be training more nurses, and our school's doing a great work in that space. And of course, our School of Public Health, which really was a star during the pandemic, and all that together with our pharmacy school, I think we have a really strong health sciences here.
Love it. Love it. Talk about environmental science, because I know that's another strong offering you have there.
Well, when you live in the desert, in the Sonoran Desert, you get a firsthand look at the impact of changes on the climate. And in particular, water issues are big issues down here. The Arizona Institute for Environmental Resilience, and so environmental studies is a big thing here at the University of Arizona. We also have the Biosphere 2 facility, and that's unique to any university in the world. The Biosphere 2 facility, if you've seen it before, remember back in the late 80s, early 90s, these scientists locked themselves in this facility and then they tried to survive in there. Well, it's an active research facility now. When we talk about Franke, I'll talk about our partnership there with students, but that's a really amazing place where they have an ocean ecosystem, rainforest ecosystem, and they really study sort of all these things that are really impacting our climate, and so we can understand and mitigate those challenges. But very strong also in environmental sciences, in particular in hydrology and earth sciences, in geology and hydrology.
Friends, this concludes part 1 of my interview with John Pollard, Dean of Admission at University of Arizona's Franke Honors College. John will be back next week for our final part about the University of Arizona. Hope you join us next week. On Thursday's episode, when I return to our conversation about college fairs with a few more additional tips. Have part 2 of my interview with Nate Haveman, the VP of Enrollment at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, and we're talking about Hope College, of course. Kevin Newton will continue sharing some changes that are coming in the world of international admissions. And friends, remember, hard work beats talent when talent refuses to work hard. See you on Thursday, friends. And that's our show. A big thank you to you, our listeners, for tuning in this week. If you find this podcast helpful, please follow us and you will get every single episode as soon as they are released. If you want to support our podcast, you can click the share button and send it to your friends and acquaintances. You can say positive things about your college-bound kid on your social media feed. And you can help us stay commercial-free and pay our staff by donating on the yourcollegeboundkid website. You can write a review for us on Apple or Spotify. And if you have a question or a recommendation, just go to speakpipe.com/YCBK, hit the orange button, and speak. We will do our best to get your question in your own voice on an upcoming episode. I am the producer of the podcast, and I live in Metro Atlanta. We have a fantastic team that has over 200 years of admissions and counseling experience. Shout out to our co-host, Dr. Lisa Ruff, In North Carolina, Susan Tree in Pennsylvania, Vince Garcia in California, Julia Esquivel in Massachusetts, Linda Depker in Missouri, Andy Strickler, the Chief Enrollment Officer at Connecticut College, New London, Connecticut, Hillary Dickman, an Admission Officer at Colorado College in Colorado Springs, and our International Admissions Expert, Kevin Newton in Dallas, Texas. Our sensational sound engineer is Nemanja Motvich. Our amazing music is from Victor Allen Weeks. Marketing designs from Kimberly Bloss. Our reliable webmaster is Stalionis Dimitru. Website updates are done by Joyce Stucker. Our image editor is Vlad Honchar. If you want to have a coaching session with me, just text me at 404-664-4340. If you want to reach someone else on our team, all of our bios with contact info can be found at yourcollegeboundkid.com under the About YCBK tab. If you want to get our free monthly YCBK newsletter, YCBK Plus, it is also under the About YCBK tab. If you want to see our recommended books and websites, they are on our website under the Resources tab. While you're on our website, check out our hundreds of interviews in their entirety. Check out our college spotlights, our blog, and our upcoming events. We think of you as our listening family, and we look forward to meeting with you every single Monday and every single Thursday.